My name is Monica Phillips, and I am from Youngstown, Ohio. I had a big family. I was the youngest of 16, but when we came up from Cincinnati, there were 9 of us. I lost a brother. He was 6, and I was 5. After my mother died, because that's who I was living with, Children's Service Board got involved. They took the 4 youngest children that were at the home. I pretty much lost my mom, my dad, and the rest of my family. They put me in a foster home. The lady that they put me with, she was a church mother. I was okay with that because I grew up Kojic, which is Church of God in Christ, and I loved it. When I first got there, I was 12 turning 13. When I got the age of 13, I started getting molested by one of the elders of the church. And I didn't really know what to do with that. When I finally got the courage to tell an adult, I went to the pastor of this church. I remember standing there telling him that this elder was touching on me. Can you make it stop? And so after telling the pastor that, he said, okay, I want you to keep bringing me reports. I kind of just stood there trying to process, what does that mean, keep bringing me reports? So the elder of the church, he continued to molest me. So I'm thinking, okay, at some point this is going to stop because I'm telling the pastor. Eventually the pastor started asking me, what did he do this time? Did you like it? How did it feel? And I was saying, no. Can you make it stop? Eventually, the pastor himself started molesting me. There was this boy there. He was just the cutest boy. He was fine. We had started talking. It was negative. He was the type of guy that didn't like, dark-skinned girls. I knew that I would never stand a chance. I don't know. My heart just kind of went out to him. Even though he would talk about me and call me black, ugly, cockeyed, all those names, even though it would hurt, it was still attention. I was 14, he was 16. I started talking to him about this elder and the pastor. I remember breaking down, telling him that they're touching on me. I remember he just, kind of helped me into him and said, okay, it's going to be okay. After that happened, the abuse stopped. So now my loyalty went to the boy. When I turned 14 now, again, I'm with this boy. So we started talking about sex a little bit, and then he took my virginity. I was okay because I kind of liked this guy. But there was this one night that the elder came to my foster home. He was one of the leaders at the church, and the church mother, she was always doing something with the leaders, and she was over the pastor's aide. So she was really into, doing whatever the pastor and his wife needed. And the foster kids, we kind of got pushed aside. I told him that my foster mother wasn't home, and he had this look in his eyes, and it frightened me, actually. But next thing I know, I'm struggling with this man, with this grown man. He wrestled me down to the floor, and then he raped me. And just recently, I have been able to say he raped me because I was using other words, because I guess I was just still in denial over 40 years. Once Children's Service Board found out everything that was going on in the house, they came and took me from that home and put me in a girls' group home where I found out I was pregnant. How did Children's Service Board get tipped off? I'm not really sure, but there was so much going on in there, but they came and got me immediately. Actually, it took me to another foster home. That foster mother was really mean. She would throw shoes at me and call me stupid and dummies and things like that. But there was one night that they were going to church. They were church people too. And when they left for church, I got on the phone and called my brother. And I said, call my caseworker. This lady is throwing shoes at me. She's calling me all kind of names and things like that. By the time she got home, the phone was just ringing off the hook because my brother DA had called everybody. I was out of there the next day. Then they took me to the girls' home. I started feeling some flutters in my stomach, and I was like, okay, I didn't know what it was, so I just let it happen. And I told one of the group home parents, there's something in my stomach. I'm 14. And so they took me to the gynecologist and found out that I was 14 and pregnant. So of course the $1 million question was, whose is it? So immediately I say, it's the boy's baby. And what happened, he denied ever touching me, and he blamed it on the elder. I was crushed, and I went through a lot in that time frame. The elder said I had came on to him. I was 14, he was 30 something. After that, Children's Service Board decided that I should go to a unwed home for mothers. I remember no one knew where I was. They just kind of dropped me off like you would drop off a dog at the animal shelter and kept on going. My family didn't know where I was. Children's Service Board, they never came back to check on me. Some of the girls that this boy had been dealing with, they found out where I was and started calling and brutally bashing me. You don't know who your baby spotter is. I mean, it was horrible. I had gotten a call and I was like, I'm not going to answer this call because I know what's happening. But there was a push inside of me to go answer this call. When I picked it up, I just knew it was going to be those girls again. But it was my brother, DA. He talked to me, and I was like, well, how did you find me? Because no one knew where I was. But that day, my brother saved my life because I was going to commit suicide. The boy had become such a safe place for me that even through him now becoming one of my abusers, I went back. And I called him one day and I said, can we talk? He decided to talk to me and then talked about the baby and things like that. And it was just over from there. There was one night, my caseworker or one of my house parents, she said, is that the boy you so crazy about? Yes, that's the boy. So they decided to let me start going back, to the church. So now, it was like a ritual. They would get on the van because he was now the van driver. I was 16, he was 18. And the girls would, wanted to wait to see he was going to drop off last because everybody wanted to be with this boy, even me. So there was one night, everybody was getting dropped off from church, and him and his friend, one of his friends was in the passenger seat. And as I was looking down, I started gathering my things, thinking he's about to drop me off. And we started going down this dark road. So at first glance, I got scared. I was like, okay, what's going on here? But in my mind, it's like, I know he's not going to hurt me and he's not going to let this boy hurt me. He pulled over and the boy got out. So I'm thinking, okay, where is he going? Is he going to use the bathroom? He came to the back where I was sitting and he wanted to have sex. I was concerned about his friend because he was there. And I said, well, what about him? And he just casually said, oh, it's cool. He saved me from the bad men. So whatever he wanted, I was there. He wanted to have sex. So after we were done, I was trying to get up, to get myself together. And he told me to stay right there. And I said, why? And so while I'm trying to get up, he was kind of holding me down. So now I'm feeling that fear again. As he holding me with one arm, he's tapping on the window to let his friend know to get in the van. So I started just kind of fighting the both of them because he was trying to have this boy have sex with me. They overpowered me and he pulled one of my legs apart And then the boy got in the middle, and he kind of leaned on my right leg. That's when the boy that I love got out the van and let this boy have his way with me. Then I just stopped. And after the boy was done, he got up and then told the guy that I love that they were finished. They never said a word to me. They were laughing and high-fiving each other, and I was sitting in the back of the van. Once he got me back to the group home, the only words that he said to me was, "Get out." The devil called me a whore for 40 years. The torment, the shame, thinking that the abuse was my fault, I buried everything. I don't even know when I was married to this boy, but I can tell you when I was divorced. The wedding was so bad, I just called it a moni. It wasn't a ceremony. When we got married, he actually called me and said, "Guess what I'm doing?" And I said, "What?" He said, "Me and my sisters and my mom is planning our wedding." I said, "And I'm not there?" I started thinking, oh my God, I have wanted this boy for all of my life, and now he's going to marry me. You know, I couldn't hurt him. No matter what this boy did to me, every time I tried to get back at him, my heart would not let me do the same. And so I married him. But one of my friends, one of our mutual friends, told me that she didn't want me to look crazy anymore. She says, "I have to tell you something. The reason that he married you was that he had gotten in trouble, and the attorney thought that he should marry me because I had his kids, and it would look good in front of the judge." And when I found that out, I was just crushed. And one day I was at work, and the Lord began to show me all of this stuff that I bear. He shined this light on it, and I remember feeling so many emotions in the midst of that. And I said, "God, why are you doing this? Why are you showing me this?" And he told me, "It is time for you to be made whole. Go tell your children." That's what he told me. And I said, "I don't want to be made whole." Because to be made whole, I knew that I had to deal with. I had to embrace everything that I had buried. I had to tell my kids that I was raped. They knew they had a sister, but they thought that she was their sister with their father. But in actuality, I don't know if she belonged to the elder or the boy, but I did it. I finally got to that place where I was able to go and tell my children. I mean, I kicked, I screamed, I went through deliverance, I was throwing up. It was so horrible. Once I did that, the Lord told me that he wanted me to put on a conference. I remember that Sunday we had the conference May 20th through the 22nd of 2022. But I was still crying, and I didn't know why. It's like all the pain, everything that I had went through for those 40 years that I had buried just started surfacing. And the Lord told me, he says, "You have a counselor, go call her." And I called one of the counselors that participated at this conference, and I began to scream out to her. I said, "They took her. Children's Service Board, they took her. They didn't give me a chance to raise my baby. They just took her." And I mean, there was a floodgate. And what the Lord was telling me, that there was a release that I had held on to for 40 years of pain and torture and trauma that I had gone through. I let everything go. And the next day, would you believe, I finally was put in touch with my daughter after 40 years. For 40 years, the devil called me a whore. For 40 years, I believed that I was ugly, black, cockeyed, just I'm worthless. I don't have any self-worth. No one would love me. All of those thoughts I lived them daily. And that's because I was not willing to confront and deal with what I had buried. And as long as you don't confront situations, as long as you don't confront and embrace and deal with the abuse, the shame of the abuse is going to continue to haunt you. And so now when I smile and when I talk about my story, I don't talk about it from a place of pain. I talk about it from a place of victory and from a place of being made whole.